Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Um, Today is May 18, 2021. Our thought for today is we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. That's Maya Angelou. It is approximately 7:01. I want to go ahead and call this meeting um, to action tonight. Um, we're going to ask if hmm, we're going to ask Commissioner Henderson if he would lead us in our invocation, and we're going to ask Commissioner Mason if he would lead us in our pledge tonight. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. C. Dear Heavenly Father, once again, we come before Thee with thanksgiving in our hearts. We come just asking You to lead us and guide us through this commissioners' meeting so that we can do Your will. It's not about us, it's all about You. Just we pray in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Before we get going tonight, we do have Commissioner Edwards. He's live on the phone, so he will be county president at this meeting tonight. County Attorney, were you going to ask a couple of questions?
Yes. Commissioner Edwards, where are you calling from this evening?
Commissioner Edwards, can you tell us where you're calling from this evening?
I'm calling from Las Vegas, Nevada, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Edwards, having not attended more than 2 meetings this year virtually and being out of state, is now available to participate telephonically.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. First thing we have is agenda adoption. Before we adopt the agenda, I actually, if we would, add 10A. 10A, discussion, consideration of previous motion to approve Juneteenth appropriation. 10A. 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 Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. C. For this change be added, was it the commission request, county manager request, or the attorney's request to have it brought back up? Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
It was mine, Commissioner Henderson. I had asked for them to be separated out so we could discuss the policy and then the Juneteenth issue separately.
Commissioners, I seek a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So,
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? All in favor? Commissioner Edwards?
I'm a yes.
Thank you, sir. Passed 5-0. Next on the agenda is citizens report, citizens comments, I'm sorry. This is an opportunity that we allow citizens to come up and make comments about agenda topics only. Agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name and address for the record, please. You may come at this time.
My name is Victoria Redding, 3091 Fairview Road. Hold this down. Excuse me. It is my understanding that the county adopted the tagline of 1 Newton, which as I stand here is a surface tagline that has no true roots. If it's my understanding that your mission, well, it is my understanding that your mission statement states, Newton County is a safe, well-planned community that respects and values an informed citizen, embraces diversity, preserves natural resources, and cultivates economic and social opportunities. You are here tonight to possibly rescind a 5-0 vote to support an organization that supports unity, growth, development, and educating the public. It is stated that should you support this organization, then this would open doors to possible hate groups. I submit to you that your core values are collaboration. It is important that you honor your commitments and that you encourage passion and creativity that inspires our community to thrive, as your mission statements state. That you advocate fairness, impartiality in all things you do for the good of all, and that you stand by truth and transparency, and that we are an exceptional and inseparable community. My question is, what separates one 501c3 organization and not others? History tells us that you, the city of Covington, or the county, has opened the doors to the Daughters of the Confederacy in the history of this county, and other nonprofits that you allocate money to from an annual budget, as the statue that stands on the square. So why not to the Newton County Historical Committee on Black Heritage Preservation? Commissioner Desmond, you said on last week that you would personally donate out of your pocket to the fund. We're still waiting. The divisiveness that takes place in the name of the county is sad and should not happen. The people are the community, and the people are waiting to see if those in power are actually working for the people or only for certain people or individuals with influence. One Newton needs to grow some roots in the community and do what the community and its people are requesting.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Mary Terry James, 160 Cherry Hollow Court. I was here at the last meeting, and the board voted for the Newton County Historic Committee to get $1,500. So when I left, I found out that they had changed it. Someone had rekindled their votes, said that they didn't want to do it because the clans might come up here, want to get money. And so they can't give it to us because some other people might want it. So if you open doors for us, then it's saying you have to give it to everybody. And I know that you all support other groups, the Kiwanis group and other groups. I know that I study up on it, so, and I just want to know why did they change? Why did they change the vote? And who changed it?
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Agenda topics only. There'll be opportunity to make comments in zoning at 7:30. Yeah. About zoning, yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to thank all of you for allowing us to get up and discuss our agenda. My name is Verna Marks Bargy, and I live at 6148 Lakeview Overlook. I wasn't here a couple weeks ago when this was discussed about the Juneteenth, so I'm not going to be redundant and go back and try to explain what Juneteenth means or about our organization. But I will tell you my reason for becoming a part of this outstanding organization. I became a member of this organization, the Newton County Historical Committee, in 2011, while traveling back and forth from Lithonia to Covington to take care of my mom. Now, reading their vision and their mission, I decided that this was the right fit for me. The organization needed someone to chair the scholarship and education program, and I accepted it because I saw a purpose in this. Since the conception of this organization, many scholarships has been given, all three of the schools, and also we want to include the Career Academy. Our goal is to educate, and I think that's what our community is about. Newton County is about educating the community on things that are important. It's about informing and equipping the community about the values of giving, and that's what this organization is about, giving back to the community. Now, Juneteenth is not taught in the public school. It's really not taught in the public school, and you really get just 1 month of Black history in the public school. But Juneteenth is not. So myself and other parents, I know, they need to know what this too often overlooked holiday is about. Why do we commemorate this holiday? And that's what's important to the citizens here in Newton County. I was a resident of Newton County. I grew up here and I went to school here. So I know how we come together. We try to bridge this gap. There have been so often when people are divided, but we as the Newton County Historical Committee, we are trying to bridge the gap. And by having Juneteenth, that's one avenue, one way that we are going to be able to do it. I was not here, but I know it's part of my time is up, but I want to say that I don't know why it was rescinded and given the money, but think about it. We said we have integrity. I saw that on your website, integrity. So integrity is truth and honesty. So let's think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thomas Butler, 650 Pleasure Drive. You know, I was here at that meeting that they voted on this. Y'all voted 5-0 for it. Kerr sat there and told you what you was going to get into if you voted for it. Yeah, I mean, he told you more than one time. Y'all still went ahead and voted for it. How in the world? I mean, what y'all done is illegal. To change your vote off somewhere and behind closed doors. You can't do that. Now, am I right or wrong? Well, you ain't gonna answer me. You could answer me out. They wouldn't, but you could. You cannot change your vote like that. It be no good. Who changed your vote? What was the vote after you changed it? 5-0 against it? What was it, Kurt?
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Thank you. That portion of our citizen comments are closed. Next is the chairman's report. I don't have anything tonight. Mr. Curry, you have anything?
Yes, sir, I do. We've got a few slides, and I did want to mention a couple of things to you before we pull the slides up there, and that is that we are making significant progress on Station 4 construction there. Done quite a bit of grading over the last week, so we're moving along quite nicely, and looks like we may even wind up being ahead of schedule on that project. The other thing I wanted to mention was that two things. Actually, one was the fishing derby that was conducted this past month at City Pond Park. Had quite a few kids involved in that, and it was very successful. The lake was just recently restocked by DNR, so that helps the fishing over there. But I also wanted to point out to you that Public Works during this past month collected 1,571 bags of trash off the road for a total of almost 34 tons of trash. So the program that we put together is working. We're struggling keeping people, but that program is working. So and we can I can personally tell that we still have a ways to go, but we are getting caught up, and we are now getting into a good schedule of picking up our roads about every 30 to 35 days. So, and hopefully more people will adopt the roads. That'll help that. And now for the slides. This first slide you'll see is the total employee population that we have. We've had 16 people brought on and had 8 separations. Next slide, please. This is a recap of all of our permitting for this past month. Primary residential permits have decreased a little bit this past month, which actually is not a bad thing. It gives us an opportunity to have a little bit of a breather. We've been moving along at quite a steady pace. But we are moving quite along. So next slide, please. These are our work orders. You can see there at the top of the page by district. Then the SPLOST resurfacing project, Northwood Oak and Oak Drive, cul-de-sac and resurface at District 3. Almond Road, District 3, Bald Rock Road, District 3, Johnson Road, District 3, Little Mill Road, District 1, Mountain Trace, District 3, Pickens Road, Shenandoah Drive, and Wehunt Road, all in District 1. Some other things that we've been doing in Public Works, there's cross drain replacement on a couple of roads, Russell Braden, Spears Road. Those are both out in one's District 4, the other District 1. And then Riverwalk Farms, we're continuing to do work on that tree removal there. Next slide, please. We've had, this is our snapshot for COVID. We've had a total number of new cases, 11,103. This is as of May of today. 211 cases were reported in the last 14 days there, and you can see the total number of deaths and so forth. Next slide, please. You'll see the number of cases between 5/3 and 5/10 was 11,026. And the next week, there was a total 11,103. And so we've had there was a slight increase between those 2 weeks. And next slide, please. This is one, we have not had this information before. Now we have been able to get this information from our Gwinnett, Newton, Rockdale, the East Metro Health District. 28,000 people, which is about 26% of the Newton County residents, have had one inoculation or vaccination rather, and 22,000 of those 28 have actually had both vaccines. So we're moving along. All of this information is available on our website, but also on the Gwinnett Newton Rockdale website. Next slide, please. We got some pictures. This was the kickoff the Older Americans Month, a walk and wellness day at the Senior Center on May 7th, and you can see a few of our seniors there. And you can see on the left, you'll see Commissioner Sanders there throwing and participating in a cornhole game with some of the seniors, and on the right, Councilmember Honethia Williams is from City of Covington, is enjoying a game there with some of the seniors as well. There was also some giveaways for everybody and several different kinds of activities for the seniors since now that they're able to get back together. About 120 people participated, and I believe that we've got about 160 people already registered back with the Senior Center for regular activities. So since we've opened back up again. Next slide, please. A couple of things that went on during Public Service Recognition Week. We had quite a few things for our employees. We had Georgia Tacos come out for Taco Tuesday, and we set up over in the Turner Lake Park there, and you see some of our employees who were getting tacos. Next slide, please. One of the other things we did was have the Kona Ice Truck come and give out tropical shaved ice to our employees. We set up, and they went around to different locations in the county both of these were done during lunch periods so that people could take their lunch period to get a lunch and a nice refreshment. District 2 Bicentennial Cleanup Day was May 15th. Had quite a good participation there. You'll see some of the t-shirts that were given away, and some folks there on Brown Bridge Road, right near Salem and Brown Bridge where the schools are, picking up trash there. Along Bethany Church, also folks getting rid of some trash there. Next slide. And this is a group picture of all the folks. You can see quite a few folks there. It looks like there was about 60 people that showed up for that event. And you can see, I believe that's Commissioner Mason there in the center, surrounded by all the folks that pitched in on that day. They had quite a good turnout. Next slide. A couple of things we wanted to mention. One is May 20th at 2 p.m. we're going to have the ribbon cutting for the splash pad. So we want to invite everybody to come out, and if you haven't seen the splash pad or been over there to Denny Dobbs Park to see that, please do so. And then there's going to be a transit master plan public meeting on Thursday, May 27th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. The consulting group that is doing the project is going to have some things set up there to get public input and comment, and this is going to be done at the pavilion in Legion Field. And the public is invited to come and ask questions and give your input on this. So all are invited to that meeting from 5:30 to 7:30. And then the District 3 Service Day, 200th or anniversary or bicentennial service project is going to be out for District 3 is going to be out at the West Side Precinct. They'll gather there at 9 o'clock at the West Side Precinct and go from there. And that's going to be June 12th, 2021. And you'll see there's some contact info. And all of this is on our website as well as Keep Newton Beautiful's website. So, and that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Laura, a question that I want to ask, how many of our county employees have taken a COVID shot? Us, just to count our employees.
That I can't tell you. can't really ask. I believe that's covered under the HIPAA rules. So I don't know how many people have taken it or how many people have not.
Next question, final question, is that, it's my understanding that anybody can just walk up over at Piedmont and get a COVID shot. I think you have to have a appointment.
That I don't know. I think you have to have an appointment. I know we have the Mass Center set up over at GPTC, and I believe that you still have to call to get an appointment time. But maybe not. Okay. It's just walk in?
Just
Okay.
walking. So what are we doing as a county to, as far as making sure the word kind of gets out to the citizens of Newton County that they can walk, can come in without an appointment? And, are we advertising for them?
Brian, do we have that on our website? Yeah. We've got that posted on our website and I guess the social media and all of those places that we normally post.
Okay, so, but we're not, no organization is giving rides, or they, I'm just asking.
There may be some nonprofit organizations that are, but the county is not, no.
Okay, and the reason why I simply asked that question is that even though, it seems like it's going a downturn, I think people are still dying from COVID-19. And I think that, we need to, I won't say, I think we need to do better. I will say it. I think that we need to do better because I think that every soul that's lost, those numbers are people's. And some of them have been some of the people that I know. Some were waiting on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and it was stalled. And others because they were seniors and didn't have a transportation or whatever case to get there. And I think we should make a county effort to make sure they get there. And I'm just close with this. I know that on election time, there's all kind of rides to get to the polls. But can we get some of those same rides to take a person to get a shot that could save their life? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. I do want to ask that if each commissioner can put that, I'm sorry, Ms. Curry, you had anything else? No. Okay. I do want to ask that if each commissioner could put that on their social media, that people can walk up and get a shot without having to wait in line or make an appointment. Commissioner Henderson, go ahead.
Thank you. Just quickly, if anybody want to ride to go get their shot, call me, 770-896-3826, and I will personally take them to get a shot because it's very important to me.
Thank you. It is actually time for zoning tonight. We're going to ask Tracy Hernandez, if you would please come up tonight. I am, there we go, it's 7:30 exactly now. Our first zoning case tonight. Thank you so much. We have an appeal case number APP 21000001. You want to handle that tonight for us, please?
Yes. Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. The first petition before us tonight is case number APP 21-000001. The original case number was VAR 21-000003. The applicants are Timothy and Cheryl Bell. The address of the property is 520 Smith Store Road, tax parcel 15-24. The size of the property is 1.4 acres, located in District 2, and presently zoned AR Agricultural Residential. On May 4th, 2021, the Board of Commissioners voted to table the appeal until the following May 18th, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting to allow staff to be able to research previous zoning ordinances and the regulations on commercial vehicle parking. Based on the language of the ordinance at the time the applicant purchased the property, there may be justification to support of the allowance of one commercial vehicle as legal nonconforming. If the board finds evidence to allow for the parking of one commercial vehicle considered to be legal nonconforming, then the applicant will still need a variance to the second vehicle, and the appeal should still move forward for consideration. If the board does not find there is enough evidence to consider the one commercial vehicle to be legal nonconforming, then the applicant would still need a variance to allow for the parking of two commercial vehicles, and the appeal should still move forward. The appeal request was to the Board of Zoning Appeals decision denied at the March 25th, 2021 meeting to be allowed to park two commercial dump trucks on the property. Applicable standards, Section 515-010, B1 and 5, number 3 of the Newton County zoning ordinance. B, commercial and recreational vehicles may be parked in residentially zoned districts with the following provisions. 1, a maximum of one commercial and one recreational vehicle is allowed to be parked outside of a permitted and wholly enclosed accessory structure which meets all of the zoning, development, and building requirements for Newton County per residentially zoned lot, where these singular commercial and singular recreational vehicles can be visibly seen from any street right-of-way. Multiple recreational vehicles and multiple commercial vehicles may be parked within a permitted, approved, and wholly enclosed accessory structure, which meets all of the zoning, development, and building requirements for Newton County. And 5, commercial vehicles are restricted as follows. The type of vehicle is Type 3 vehicles, which includes tractors, earth-moving equipment, dump trucks, heavy construction equipment, flatbed trucks, box vans, vehicles with trailers, semi-tractor cabs with or without trailers, must have a minimum lot size of 10 or more acres. And the restricted location will be set back 100 foot from all property lines. The purpose is to allow two commercial dump trucks to be parked on less than 10 acres. Potential effects on the county would be none if developed with the staff's recommended conditions. Potential effects on neighborhood, even if developed with staff's recommended conditions, the accessory structure and recreational vehicle may still be visible from the street. Recommended conditions. Should this request be approved, staff recommends the board approve the application with the following conditions. 1, park the vehicle or vehicles in the rear of the yard out of view. 2, provide plantings or a fence between the vehicles and the road to help shield it from the road. A landscape plan to be approved by the Development Services and maintained in perpetuity. 3, provide plantings on the northern side of the property line to 496 Smith Store Road, where the commercial vehicle can be seen by neighboring properties to the north or from Smith Store Road. And 4, approval is for the however many dump trucks are allowed on the property. Here's the aerial view of the property. The zoning map stayed in the AR zoning. It's located in the South River watershed in Commissioner District 2. And these are the photos that were submitted by the applicant. And as you will notice, the conditions that's on the PowerPoint is different from the ones that was in your packets because they were added since these packets were sent out.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that at our last meeting, we did have the actual hearing itself. And so it's probably not proper protocol to actually have an additional hearing. But I did want to ask the question, Mr. Chair, if possible, if I can bring the applicants back up again.
Mr. Bell, are y'all here tonight? If you would, please come up, please. Thank you. Thank you guys for being here tonight. All right. Commissioner Mason.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Bell.
Good evening.
At our last, or at the actual hearing, you all stated that you have been parking there for 19 years. And so that's why we wanted to take this opportunity to go back and look and see if our current ordinance was actually in place back 19 years. It does look like our ordinance stated that one of those vehicles is allowed. I did want to ask if we can, Brian, though, the recommended conditions, if we can put those back up. Are you all ready, able, and willing to meet these recommended conditions that you see here in green?
Yes, sir.
So all of the conditions there, you all are able to meet them? So to provide plantings, or actually park the vehicles in the rear of the yard out of view, provide plantings or a fence between the vehicles and the road to help shield it from the road, put together a landscape plan to be approved by the development services and maintained in perpetuity. Also provide plantings on the northern side of the property line to 496 Smith Store Road, where the commercial vehicle can be seen by the neighboring properties to the north or from Smith Store Road. And then, of course, it will be approved. I know one of them would actually be grandfathered in because of the previous ordinance, but the second one, we would have to have a variance. So I just need to know if you all are ready, willing, and able to meet these conditions if we were to potentially look towards approving it tonight.
Well, I mean, if one's grandfathered in, then I can keep one there, and I can, just keep one, if I can do that. That'd be
Okay,
fine.
so you're willing to just move the second
Yes,
one
sir.
and just keep the one there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this one vehicle, this one dump truck, to be grandfathered in per our previous policy, so that to approve the case 8PP21-000001.
Thank you. Attorney Martin, please.
And just if I may, Commissioner Mason, indicate in that motion that it is for one vehicle which was grandfathered in. It's not for both. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve appeal case number APP 21-000001 with the approved recommendations of the one dump truck that was grandfathered in.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a second, please? Can I get a second, please? Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Did you get a second?
I did.
Okay.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, what you were saying, I mean, if my memory serves me right from the last meeting, you said that you had been staying at your place for 19 years, or did you say you moved, came back? I mean, I'm trying to remember what we talked about last time.
Yeah, we moved from a subdivision to that property in 2002.
Commissioner Sanders and then Commissioner Cowell.
I think my question would be for, I know Judy's here, so it'll be for Tracy. So with his vehicle being grandfathered in, how is that, are the other trucks are gonna follow the ordinance that's currently in place that's in Newton County, period? Because they're gonna look at this case as it being grandfathered in one truck. How is that going to affect the current ordinance of individuals want to come back and say that he had an exception?
This case tonight would actually be like a two-part. Like the first, y'all would have to decide whether the first one is legal non-conforming. And then the second part would be to decide if he wanted to keep the additional one, that would be, the variance for the additional one. There's actually two. Now, as far as it affecting the current ordinance stands as it is.
Commissioner Cow.
What's the date of the current ordinance? So people coming after a certain date won't be able to do any of this. But people prior to that, as long as they've been in continuous operation, would be able to keep one truck. Is that correct?
If they can prove that the truck has been there since the 2000 and the 99 ordinance, and then there was a 2002,
Right. But our
2005.
current
2005 ordinance, but our current ordinance is 2009.
2009, okay.
Correct.
And let me ask Mr. Bell one question. You've been in continuous operation since 2000, since y'all moved over there? Since 99. Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Commissioner Edwards? All opposed? Commissioner, can you explain why you abstaining, please?
Well, it was just hard for me to make a decision on it, and then when the other people who comes up and request this, the first thing they're gonna say is that, hey, you let so-and-so and so have it, not being at this meeting, and maybe not even having these minutes, so I'm just, abstaining.
County Attorney, that's a reason to abstain from voting?
Commissioners should come understanding what's already in the packets. So not having the knowledge would not be a sufficient abstention. Here, we're looking at, honestly, you all didn't need to make the vote for the one truck. He has a legal non-conforming right for that truck to be there. The question was the second truck, and he's indicated there from the dais that he does not plan on keeping the second truck so as to comply with those conditions. So a no vote, a yes vote, he already has that right in place for that one vehicle. So those that voted no, that's fine. You have a 3-2, but understand this is not setting precedent that means that people can now begin parking multiple vehicles as in today, 2021. This family has been there for a very long time, and they're grandfathered in based upon how long they've been there and the ordinances in place when they moved into that property.
But other families that is in that same situation, they fall upon that same.
Yes, we would look
grandfather,
at the date that they commenced their operations or bought the property in this matter, and because they were continuing operations from their other home, and you would look at what was in place at that date. So if somebody has been parking their truck consistently, like these folks here, then they are likely to be grandfathered in because of the old ordinances that allowed that legal use at the time.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, and just, maybe add on what the county attorney said, we didn't have to have this vote from the beginning, and I don't, I think if we did a little bit of research, we wouldn't be here.
Commissioner Sanders.
Yeah, that was my point too. I since it was already mentioned that he was already grandfathered in, I didn't see the need for the vote because it was already approved for 1999.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the reason why is because we did table it before to allow our development services to go back and do the research to see if this was legal non-conforming, if it was grandfathered in, if it was not. So the research was done by our development services. That information was emailed to us. So the Board of Commissioners was able to go back and review the research data that was received by them so that we can come tonight to make a decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. So it passed 3-1 with one abstention. Commissioner Henderson. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tracy, please. Item number 18.
The next petition tonight is case number CUP 21-000001, located at 19 Popular Hill, and the request is for a special events facility. The applicant is sent in requesting to table the petition for 60 days to be able to obtain a survey and address concerns of required setbacks and building permits.
Thank you much. Commissioner Cowan.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we table this. Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the meantime, in the 60 days through that, we would like to not have any events held there until they're either properly permitted or denied. So Megan, if you have a problem with that, let me know, but, okay. Just a second.
Commissioner Cowan, I would recommend that on the motion to table, that it be noted that no special events, but if they're having family affairs and things
Correct.
like that, they are welcome to use their property for that.
Okay,
use.
thank you. I'll change that motion to table this, but in the meantime, no special events on the property for 60 days, and then we'll bring it back here at that point in time.
Commissioner, well, let's get a table in a second, so then we get discussion on the floor. I need a second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan to table this, and second by Commissioner Sanders. Discussion, Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Ms. C. I got complaints too as well from some of the residents, and they were concerned about, they were telling me that sewage or raw sewage was running to some pond that's connected up to it. Could we have somebody from the county or somebody go out and check that too as well? Because even if you are having a event, say a family reunion, and I don't know, I haven't been out there, and if sewage is running into the river or creek or whatever, you might not want to even have that too as well. So I think it needs to be checked by somebody.
Yes, we can go out and inspect that and have that checked out.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, if I understand, the applicant has requested this be tabled to obtain the proper permits. So, am I to understand there's building going on now without permits? If so, what are we doing to remedy that?
No, sir, there's no building going on. I think is it building? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. We did have complaints of building going on without permits. We did send someone out to put up a stop work order and then someone's going to be coming in to apply for the permit. So someone has went out and addressed that.
Okay, so to make sure I heard that correctly, the applicant was building without a permit, and now we have a stop work order in place, correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Cowan.
Commissioner Edward asked me to read a statement, but Stan, based on the fact that we're going to table this, do you want that read at this point in time?
Commissioner Edwards, do you want your statement read in 60 days when they come back before us? You want it read tonight?
No, I can make my statement in 60 days. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Commissioner Edwards.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, sir. Let's stand table for 60 days. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. I seek a motion of approval, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Sanders. All in favor? Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Passed 5-0. Next on the agenda is item number 10, discussion, consideration of external appropriations. Attorney Martin, please.
Thank you, Chairman Baines. And if I can clarify for Commissioner Henderson, I asked for these to be split out because I wanted citizens to know what was going to be discussed under this heading. So first up, pursuant to the board's direction, I have drafted a memorandum regarding how to handle requests for appropriations from external 501c3s. Brian is going to put my slides up. I'm not used to not clicking, so you'll have to deal with me there. A quote here, we must remember that one determined person can make a significant difference and that a small group of determined people can change the course of history. So my assignment was to assist the county regarding creation of a policy, thank you, regarding partnering with local nonprofit entities who confer substantial benefits to the citizens of Newton County, Georgia. Any of you that have participated in local governance here in the county understand that there are external appropriations to 501c3s that have been made in the past, and I understand that there has already been budget hearings where some of those appropriations were brought before the board. We do resolutions per each one, so we can show that it has been approved by the board as an external appropriation. So what is the purpose of this policy? The policy is going to govern Newton County's external appropriations to nonprofit entities, also known as 501c3s. Furthermore, the policy shall provide the appropriate procedures for both entities seeking an external appropriations and county officials in awarding those external appropriations to nonprofit entities. The Newton County Attorney shall review, approve external appropriations to ensure Newton County is not conferring a gratuity upon such nonprofit entity in violation of the Georgia Constitution. Here I have created a proposed calendar for how to handle these requests so that they're handled consistently the same way, the same time each year, and that you all have the same standards that you'll review for each entity. So the proposed dates are in that left-hand column there, starting off with February 1st. I recommend that as a deadline for applications from nonprofits seeking external appropriations for the upcoming budget year. Both Brittany and Lloyd would work on a day-to-day basis on scheduling those meetings or providing application packets or answering questions about how to apply for such appropriations. You'll notice 1 month later, I recommend creating a calendar for presentations to the Board of Commissioners for nonprofit entities. Again, our finance director and county manager are already doing that process with nonprofits, but this would standardize and create a timeline for that process. No later than May 1st, which would give us 60 days, we would have those entities come before the board to do their presentations. As you all probably remember, we've seen lots of folks that come up, Ms. B and others, to describe their policies and their programs and how the county's appropriation is assisting their efforts. So then 2 weeks later, I'd recommend that the board review request to hear from entities qualified outside appropriation. So that would give the board time to consider. They've had a thorough presentation. They've had the ability to ask questions. It's not off the cuff. If there's questions that the board brings to my attention or to the chairman's attention, those then could be circulated and socialized before the board is to make a decision. No later than the end of May, being cognizant that our budget year runs from July 1st forward, I would recommend that the board, again, review previously submitted requests and then vote. That means there's a full 60-day period of time that the board will have to review, reflect, and determine whether or not they feel this confers a substantial benefit upon the citizens of Newton County. I've indicated no later than June 15th, the board would pass individual resolutions to those receiving an external appropriation. I think the resolutions are important because it provides maximum transparency so someone can pull the resolution and see who got funding and who did not get funding. A lot of times we hear rumors of, oh, this entity is getting this or this entity is getting that. We need to put it out there. You'll be able to see the resolution signed, executed on our website. This is a recommendation from my point of view. Certainly, if the commissioners do not want to add this extra step, I thought it would be appropriate, since these are taxpayer dollars, to publish a notice in the county's legal organ specifying that there is the intention to make those external appropriations. Now, I'm not talking anything fancy. I'm a very simple, appropriation entity type of notice. Then no later than October 1st, we would expect those receiving external appropriations to come before the board to indicate how things are going, basically an update to the board on how they're using those appropriations. You'll notice also that I have indicated the nonprofit entity must file an annual report, including an audit with the county. That is a form that I'm sure that Ms. White or myself or someone can create so that those receiving external appropriations know what to bring before the board. And then lastly, no later than January 1st, get a second update from your external appropriations. This is going to allow you to see, are your dollars working to the benefit of the citizens and conferring a substantial benefit upon the citizens? And there's those last two for you. Okay, so requirements. I've indicated a few here on the bullets. As you can see, it must be designated and recognized as a nonprofit entity. It's one thing to say I'm a nonprofit. It's entirely another for tax purposes to be a nonprofit with both the state and the federal government. So it would need to be an entity that is recognized as a nonprofit entity for the 12 months prior to seeking an external appropriation. That means if you allow your tax status to lapse or otherwise, you would not be available for that budget year. Nonprofit entities must provide documentation from both the state's government and the federal government evidencing that tax status, and that can be pulled on a one-page printable from both the Secretary of State and the federal government. Very, very easy. Entities that are not operating or having a period of non-compliance with legal requirements for the 12-month period prior to award are not eligible to apply. What we're trying to do is encourage the county to invest in opportunities with partnering with external appropriations that are working in the community. You're seeing the work in the community. You're seeing how the dollars are being used for those purposes. Additionally, entities seeking external appropriations must provide the last fiscal year's operating budget detailing costs and credits. Additionally, the entity shall provide organizations creation documents, identify all board members, and provide certified minutes from at least 3 board meetings in the previous year. And again, that goes to the point to make sure this is a legitimate organization who is operating and conferring that substantial benefit upon the citizens. The Board of Commissioners does reserve the right to deny a request for any external appropriation for any reason at all. The application process. Nonprofit entities seeking external appropriations may pick up an application packet from Financial Services. Please note, requests for external appropriations will be heard one time per year as part of the county's annual budgeting process. This is going to allow the county to have a certain pool of funding that they are going to utilize for external appropriations and know coming in what everyone's requesting. So we can determine how much will be put into that pot, so to speak. Any applications not fully completed or lacking required documentation shall be immediately denied. That's much like any other entity, whether it's applying for a job or whatever it might be. You need to get your papers in order correctly. Allow yourself time to make sure you get all the appropriate documents. Applications that will be considered by the Board of Commissioners shall be notified of the date they will present their external appropriations to the Board of Commissioners. And then what happens next? Well, you're going to have a group of entities that do receive an external appropriation. Following presentations, the Board of Commissioners shall hold a special called meeting to award external appropriations to those entities selected to receive such appropriation. This policy calls for the Newton County Board of Commissioners to adopt a special resolution for each nonprofit charitable organization money is donated to and specify for what purpose the money is being donated. It then requires the budget document of the county to name each nonprofit charitable organization in the amount given during the annual budget process. In other words, we're going to line item each entity, not just here is the group of nonprofit dollars that will be going out the door. I have just merely put this $2,100 there on the please note. That's something, in speaking with Mr. Kerr, I understand that the current appropriations, there's many that do not receive that amount. So that's at the board's leisure to decide what you would like that to be. Do you-
Mr. Kerr?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. County attorney and I discussed this a little bit, but what I would like to do, would be to take a little more in-depth look at this and see how this dovetails with our current standard operating procedures and practices. First of all, I don't think we could implement this next budget cycle. I think it would have to wait till FY '23. Because first of all, we've already established essentially our budget for FY 2022. And I don't know that we would have the additional funding for any additional appropriations. I've frozen and I'm recommending to the board not to fund the current appropriations at any greater level than what is currently there. So we would have to find additional money, and of course, not knowing what that would be. I mean, it could be you had 10 people, it could be we had 50 people applying for, these funds. So I would recommend, I'd like to recommend that we take an opportunity to try to tweak this a little bit. I see some things in here that I think may be difficult, may be problematic, and that may be, that there may be some simpler ways to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. So I'd like to ask that the board would simply table this until we can make those adjustments to it. Come back then later, adopt it as a policy, but that we not try to implement this until our next budget cycle, because there's no way for us to be able to find out how many between now and then. And again, this is not something that we were prepared to budget for, and I don't believe we would have the funds available.
Thank you, sir.
I've got just a couple more slides. And just to address Mr. Kerr, this could be a policy you put in today. It could be a policy you put in next month. It doesn't have to be done today. Transparency, again, I think it's fair to say to the citizens, this is where your money's going via the legal publishing. I did look at other large counties and cities. Frankly, there's only a few in the metro area that do this. And that was something that I saw in two that I thought was very transparent. Biannual updating, it's recommended that those that receive external appropriations now or in the future come before the board twice a year to report on how those funds are being used, whether it be a PowerPoint presentation, someone to speak as to their own personal experience with the entity, photos, brochures that are handed out, something that conveys to the board how you're wisely using taxpayer funds to maximally benefit the citizens of Newton County. You'll notice that I put all this up there and ensure that this would also be available for someone who's doing this on their own, so they can see the things that they should bring with them and what can assist in their updating. Any queries regarding the policy would be handled by the finance director, or of course, Mr. Kerr would be directly involved. And they would both update the board regarding the amount of applications received, how many didn't fit the requirements, kind of like we do in bid processes. Sometimes you miss something and unfortunately your bid gets thrown out. So that would allow tracking of how these appropriations are taken care of. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lord, I was saying thinking while you were speaking. Could any of this, what CARES Act money, the $21 million that's supposed to be sent down to the counties, could a portion of that be used to help fund possible, I want to say, I guess the word I'm using, appropriation for these nonprofits? Secondly, the Facebook money, the 2.5 that we all looked at up here, could some of that money, a little bit of that money, since it's not included in our budget, at least from my understanding, could be used to fund that. It shouldn't be that much of maybe at the most 100,000. But you know, I think if we were just look at it, we could find a way to fund it. And I'm gonna say this: government typically funds what it wants to fund if it wants to fund it, and so I think we need to find a way to fund that and help the nonprofit organizations.
Well, certainly we could use certainly we could use some of that funding. I think what we would need to do, though, would be, we would probably have to reduce the amount that we have budgeted in our capital improvements fund, which is for projects. And we could certainly take that money, some of that money from those projects and put it towards this. It's possible to do that. The money that we got from the recent sale out at JDA will help us to do some of the capital improvement projects that we're trying to do and trying to boost that fund. I would not recommend that we use reserve dollars. I've not recommended we use reserve dollars for a while, and I would continue to say that. But part of the issue is on the priorities. If you would like to fund these, that's fine. We can certainly fund them. At what level is the question. We may have, like I say, you may have 50 people, you may have 100 people who want funding because we just don't know. But certainly whenever we do fund one thing, as our budget stands now, if we fund whatever changes in the funding are going to mean that if we pull funding to increase funding in one area, you're decreasing the funding in another area. I mean, that's the reality that we
One
have.
follow-up question.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know recently this board has really made a strong statement that we want to follow policies. And we want to make sure that policies are in place and regulations are in place and that we're following the policies and the regulations and procedures that this board puts in place. And so I think when you look at the policy that our county attorney has put in place, I believe our current 501c3s, Nelson Heights Community Center, Washington Street, they're currently following this procedure. They're currently following this policy, this protocol. And so I think if this board decides that we do want to fund this 501c3 organization, I think we should make sure that all of our 501c3s that come before this board are following the policies and following the protocol that this board already has in place to ensure that we are doing things consistent and not doing one thing one way for one organization and then doing something different for another organization, that this board is being consistent. So I think this is a great 501c3 to fund. We just want to make sure that we're following the policy and we're following the protocol and we're doing it the way that this board has already set it up in place. I do know that, and thank you, Ms. Redding, for bringing that to our attention about me personally giving. I did send an email to Ms. Berna Dixon on May the 6th at 12:54 p.m. stating that I will support. I gave her my email address, my phone number. I haven't received an email back yet. I haven't received a phone call. So if you would like to communicate that to her, or I'll be more than happy to give you one of my business cards, and I can do that as well. So.
Hey, guys, please address the chairman when you get ready to make comments.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, you fine.
My
Please,
apologies.
Yeah, just please for the commissioners, please address the chairman when you get ready to make comments. Please don't address any people in the audience, or please don't address any other commissioner. Guys, please address the chairman. Thank you so much. Commissioner Sanders and then Commissioner Cowan.
Thank you first, Megan, for putting this together. I think the issue was there was no policy put in place. That's the issue. So now that our county attorney has put some stipulations in place, now those who are coming before the board know what guidelines are in place, application process, everything can be put in place, and they know the actual limitations of what the amount that they can, the actual extent of the amount that they can actually go for. So with this policy now being put in place, it's going to help that. So I think that's what we're talking about right now is policy. So I just wanted to make sure we get back on the topic.
Commissioner Cowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay. I guess my thoughts is that something an old judge told me one time, there's never a right way to do the wrong thing. I think what we did last time when we voted without knowledge of things on the, I'm still buzzing over here. Correct, I'm about to get that. Just relax. Chill out over there, counsel.
Go ahead, sir.
But, so I think what we did was, we may have done that wrong, but the county attorney has, on a couple of commissioners' requests, did some work and put together a policy. I would suggest and recommend that we put this in place as quickly as possible, due to the fact that we are in the budget cycle. We have one entity out there that has made a request, and it's pending. But I would like to see it, I'd like to see this put in place and have that entity submit and go through this process to start. So I'm for the policy. I think that's what I was trying to allude to at the last meeting, was we have to have a standard in place that says, because we do give money to some 501c3s, but nobody has ever told me how'd they get them, why. There's no hard fast rules out there that I'm aware of. But one thing I do know, I do think the policy in place will avoid the issue that some people have concerns about, and that is groups that are may not have the best interest of the county in mind, or the best interest of the citizens in mind, that may have something that maybe have a history of wrongdoing in the past. We want to make sure we avoid those, and I think the policy is the only way we're going to be able to deal with that legally. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let the board know that all of our standard operating procedures very much follow this policy. We require that everybody that we appropriate money to provide us with a budget, with an audit, if they conduct an audit, the other sources of funding that they have to give us information about their organization, proof that they're a 501c3. So we get all of those things. We don't have a written policy, but we do have a standard operating procedure. So that's all part of it. And as a matter of fact, over the last several years, when we adopt a budget, we have also adopted a resolution finding that all of the people that we do appropriations to provide a substantial benefit to the people of Newton County. So while we didn't necessarily have a policy, we have been doing this. And you have voted on it, and you have seen the list of the agencies and the 501c3s that are supported by the county. So this is not a new thing, because we've been doing this for a very long time. I just wanted to point that out to the board.
Thank you, sir. So, well, guys, I seek a motion.
Yes, I would like make a motion to adopt the policy that was written by our county attorney in regards to 501(c)(3) submitting for appropriation, submitting for funds from the county.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the, Juneteenth, so they haven't, I mean, they need to fill out an application, but but we need to give them the money. How could we help them since they were reading the answers? We vote to give it to them. How would it affect? And I guess if you can understand what I'm saying, the county attorney.
I understand, and that's why I separated it out, so we can specifically discuss the votes that were made at our last meeting, and that the commissioners who have indicated to the chairman that they wish to recall their vote, that they can discuss it here at the Horseshoe and explain why they've changed their mind if they've done so.
Any more discussion? Commissioner Edwards, did you have something? Commissioner Cowan, you have something? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Cowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to submit maybe an alternative motion, which is to approve the policy, but allow the county manager an opportunity, at least 2 weeks between now and the next meeting, to go through and review this with the county attorney. If there's anything that he sees in conflict with some operational policies, then he has a chance to work those out and then bring back to the board a final product.
So you're gonna, Commissioner, do you want to, pull back your motion? Commissioner?
I was informed by the county attorney that our county manager and the county attorney has already reviewed the policy. So they have already gone over it. So I don't want to amend my motion.
Any more discussion? Attorney Martin?
Just to clarify, I did send Lloyd the policy. He and I have not line by lined it, but everybody at the Horseshoe, including the chairman and the county manager, have had this.
Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is it possible, if this is approved tonight, if our county manager goes back and sees some things, are we able to come back and revisit the revised and then be able to vote upon the revision of this policy?
Yep. Attorney Martin?
Absolutely. That happens with any of our ordinances or resolutions, that if we come back, and your job is to create policy. So if this policy needs tweaking, or it's simply, we realize we missed something, that would make it easier. Like what Lloyd was saying, there's probably things that I'm not boots on the ground that he could say, oh, I can do that with software or whatever it may be. So yes, you can always come back and change this policy. You would just put it back on, amendment, discussion consideration of amendment of external appropriations policy. We'd present the amendment, vote it straight up and down. If approved, then we would revise the policy to show that change and then put it back on the web with the change.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Commissioner Edwards? Yes. I'm sorry? He said yes. It passed 5-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 10A, discussion consideration a previous motion to approve Juneteenth appropriations. Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Chairman Baines. After the meeting 2 weeks ago, I, along with, I'm assuming, everyone on the board, received an email indicating that 3 commissioners wish to recall their vote for funding for the Juneteenth event. I put together an email that was emailed out to the entire board on May 7th explaining how I recommended handling this matter. I did recommend a special called meeting. However, we've covered that. We're going to cover that here in the meeting now. That's, again, why I wanted to break it out so where everyone could see what we're discussing, and if it was important to them, they could be here. But we've done a great job of getting it forward. Now, this was an interesting one, parliamentary procedure-wise. I actually reached out to a national parliamentarian that taught some of my classes named Colette Trohan, because the rescission of motions and recalling of motions can be very dicey when it comes to Robert's rules. So her recommendation for transparency was to have this as a discussion item in which commissioners could ask questions, learn more about it. But what would happen if these 3 still wish to recall their vote? They're going to have to make a motion that might read as follows. I would like to rescind the motion approving a $1,500 donation to the Black Historical Committee that was made on May 4th, 2021. That it would be voted up or down by a show of hands, so every individual can be heard clearly on how they feel about this item. I do recommend that whatever your decisions are tonight, ensure that we're clear. No semantics. It's a yes or no on whether or not you wish to continue your vote to approve the funding or if you wish to recall. Now, I've had several questions about, well, does this open up our door to others to seek the same thing? Absolutely. This is, you get equal protection under the law. So you will have entities that will want to come forward and will want similar events or just appropriations in general. That's why the policy was presented tonight. So we can handle each one of these the same way. It is going to be hard to put forth an argument that a hate group substantially benefits the county. But you have to understand, as I've indicated to you, there is the possibility that you will cross that bridge. And that's where you as a board, if you followed your policy consistently, we will have this to defend the decision-making you make regarding external appropriations. I cannot say enough how important that it is we be consistent with how these are handled for that purpose, that we can show how the county has delved into these, made decisions that were based upon clear advice, guidance, and then move forward. We don't want to continue bringing things back. It makes things not clear. We get lots of questions like today, apparently folks thought that people had met to rescind a vote. That never happened. There's been no rescission at this point in time. As far as where we stand right now, it's a 5-0 to award the $1,500. The rescission would have to happen here at the Horseshoe tonight. So I'm available to answer any questions, but it's pretty simple.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like for you to call each commissioner and ask him or her how would they support to rescind their 5-0 vote that we all supported. I think it's a matter of the public know who's rescinding what, and maybe they could explain, if they choose to, the reason why they're rescinding their vote.
So
Transparency.
So once you get your motion on the floor, you can get each by the show of hands, just like the county attorney just said. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, now, I've heard people say that we told everybody, didn't nobody tell me. So, but just to be clear, we are up here. I mean, are we hiding behind something? Why can't we just say, well, I'll tell you right now, I will not vote to rescind the motion that we've done. What's hard about that? Hey, if I'm with you, J.C. Henderson, if I'm with you, I won't change.
Well, Commissioner, that's the process of voting. Once they show their hands when they vote, that's their statement. You can't force nobody to make a statement. So I'm gonna call for a motion to get it on the floor for discussion. I seek a motion, please.
As we currently sit, this has been approved 5-0. If it is correct that 3 commissioners have told our chairman that they wish to recall, I've provided you all with a sample motion in your email of what would need to be put on the floor, second, then vote straight up and down. It would be, I vote to rescind my motion recalling my vote on such and such date. Then somebody does a second, and then you do your vote. It's up and down, where people sit with it. So if the 3 wish to rescind, one of the 3 needs to make a motion.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to put it on the floor to rescind that vote. And then we'll get into the discussion of why we're doing this.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan. Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion?
Could you repeat the motion, please, Mr. Chairman?
It was a motion to rescind the vote from last meeting, Juneteenth, to approve the $1,500.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Henderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, the substitute motion, that we approve, continue, approve it 5-0 vote.
Ms. Martin.
Commissioner, you've already got your vote and your 5-0. They're going to have to say no if that's what they want to do. It stands what you voted on last meeting. That $1,500 stands. So your fellow commissioners will indicate, I guess, what they've already conveyed to their chairman, that they want to rescind their vote. And if that's not the case, they won't, and your appropriation will go forward.
Any more discussion? Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I find this very disheartening, and I'm going to tell you why I find this very disheartening. It's because this organization reached out to every last one of us and sent a letter. It takes 3 commissioners to put it on the agenda. 4 responded to have it placed on the agenda. We got here on week before last, or 2 weeks ago. It was a 5-0 vote. No rebuttal. If there was a rebuttal to this, it should have been done. You shouldn't have said not put it on agenda. Shouldn't have been placed on the agenda. There were 4 commissioners that responded to put this on the agenda. Based on Covington News, it was me and Commissioner Henderson were spearheading this. No, we can't spearhead this. It takes 3 commissioners to put anything on the agenda, and 4 responded to a 5-0 vote. And now we're sitting here to rescind a vote for an organization that was approved on 2 weeks ago. It makes no sense.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to add a little clarity to the conversation. I don't think this board is stating that they don't want to assist with this 501c3. So I want to get that clarified. I think this board does want to assist this 501c3. We just want to make sure that we're following the proper protocol, that we're following the proper policy, the policy that's currently in place for the 501c3s that we already give funding to. So we just want to make sure that we're being consistent across the board, and we're not doing one thing for one 501c3 and then doing something different for another 501c3, that we're being consistent across the board. So I think this board wants to support this 501c3. I do believe that if it's $1,500, I believe one of our citizens has already stated that they are willing to give that $1,500 so that this board can come back and look at how we are proceeding with providing these funds to this 501c3, just to ensure that we are following our policy. and that we're following our standard operating procedures. And so I think that's the only thing that this board is doing. I don't want anyone to think that this board is saying, no, we don't want to support. We just want to make sure that we are being consistent with all 501c3s across the board. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Cowan, and then Commissioner Sanders.
Okay, we're in our discussion time.
Yes.
My concern after the last meeting was whether or not our vote violated the Georgia gratuities law. Okay. I did a little research. I talked to the county attorney a little bit on it, and I concluded that yes, we probably did. Based on that, and I'm sure some other commissioners talked to the county attorney also, but I talked to the county attorney and I said we need a procedure in place that basically identifies how we're going to handle this so that we do treat, as Commissioner Mason said, treat everyone fair. Okay. The entity that's asked for the money, I have no problem with that at all. I think that's a very worthwhile thing, and it commemorates a very critical time in American history. But what I don't want to do is have somebody file a civil complaint against me and be over in Superior Court as an attorney and somebody saying you messed up. So I have a lot more to lose sometimes than I think than the average person does. So I asked, I felt like it was we overstepped our bounds. And again, what I said a while ago, I had a judge tell me one time, never a right way to do a wrong thing. And what we did, we thought we were doing with our hearts and doing what was right, but we didn't go about it the right way. So, and usually procedures where you get in trouble with the courts. Is that right, Megan? I don't like the law usually doesn't scare me that much, but procedure scares me because the judges have a lot of discretion on that. Anyway, I feel like we just needed a chance to step back a minute, take another look at it. So I'm willing to rescind my vote on the knowledge that we are got a policy in place, or we're going to have a policy in place that will address these, and these can be dealt with on a fair and equitable basis for the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, I just want to expound on when it was stated that a citizen actually offered to pay that. That's something that we should not even be taking advice on because of that's also going against policy as well. So if that citizen wants to make a donation, they should that not on the behalf of the government, and they should not be advising commissioners on whether they're going to pay that fund if we recall our vote, which was in the email. So that we should not be doing. Even though if you felt that this was against policy, we're given the opportunity 2 weeks to look at documents, to look over everything. We had 2 weeks before this was even put on the agenda. We had time to review it before it was placed on the agenda. And to come before the citizens and have this organization come here and think that the government, Newton County, is assisting with something. Yes, we have assisted 501(c)(3)s, but there was not a policy put in place for items such as this, which we just did tonight. So there was not a policy put in place. So if money has been given to other entities, there was not a policy put in place. You may have had a standard operating procedure, but it was not written.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, the subject that we talked about was about grandfathering those trucks. We talked about that. So the trucks are grandfathering because that was the way the policy was set, and it was grandfathering so they could do it. So Juneteenth Day, was grandfathered in because we didn't have no policy doing it. But just let me say this. The reason why we rescinded this vote because we got 3 Republicans who don't want.
Commissioner,
Right.
Commissioner, come on.
No, I'm gonna finish on this one
we
because we have 3 Republicans
Commissioner,
who don't want to
Guys.
support $1,500 Juneteenth Day.
Guys, we're going to a recess. I'm calling for the vote. All in favor? No, there was a motion put on the floor to rescind the vote from the previous meeting. I'm calling, all in favor? Commissioner Edwards? All opposed? It passed 3-2. Thank you.
I want change. These people change when the wind blow.
The next item on the agenda is the financial report. Ms. Brittany White. No, I don't have to wait for her to come back. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Thank
Tonight I will be presenting the April 2021 financial report. April is the 10th month of our fiscal year, so that puts us roughly around 83% complete with our fiscal year. So I will start out with the general fund revenues. Our general fund revenues actual year to date is $76.9 million. That actually puts us at over 100% of our revenues. So we have collected 100% of our budgeted revenues this year. This graph shows our revenues per month. So while we have collected our full revenues already for the year, May and June are pretty low in our revenue generating months. As you can see, July was only 1.7, February was 2.1. So we do anticipate May and June to be lower revenue months. Our general fund expenditures for the year, we are at 57.8% of our expenditures, so that puts us at 75% for the year. And this is a graph that shows our expenditures by month, and you see April is a higher expenditure month, and that is because we do have 3 payroll cycles in April. And our general fund totals, so for the year, we're currently 19 million over in revenues and our expenditures, but that will decrease over the next 2 months since most of our revenues have been generated at this point in the year. In our enterprise funds, our water fund, the revenue to date for the water fund is 8.2 million. Their expenditures to date is 5.4 million. The solid waste fund, their revenues for the year is 7.1 million, and their expenses for the year are 4.1 million. And our Gaithers Fund, their revenue for the year is $300,000 and their expenses is $204,000. And the graphs below show the actuals to budgeted. We currently have 2 open SPLOST. The 2011 SPLOST currently has 1.1 million left in the fund balance of that. We are wrapping up Station 8. So once that is complete, we'll just have the historic jail project remaining. Our 2017 SPLOST, we do have several projects that are ongoing right now, and the current fund balance in the SPLOST is 9.1 million. Our revenues for the SPLOST collections, we're currently 52.9 million in collections, and that puts us roughly 12 million over our projected collections. And our impact fee fund currently has a fund balance of $3.2 million. And that wraps up the presentation, and I'll take any questions you have.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. How much money are we appropriating, appropriating to Gaithers Plantation?
In the FY 21 or 21 budget, I would have to
I'm
pull
sorry,
that,
I'm
but
catching that kind of off cuff.
I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head,
Mhm.
but I think it's around $200,000.
Okay, so we're putting $200,000 in the debt, plus whatever they take in from the movie industry.
Yes, their revenues are generated by the general fund transfer and then the revenues from events and movies down there.
I had my last question to Mr. Kerr. Why are we putting so much money into the Gator Plantation?
Well, it's a county property, and at least up until now, the county has deemed that we need to maintain the property and keep it in use. And so we do, there are a number of repairs that we have to do. There are a number of things we have to do to maintain that property. As the property is being used, there is a belief that it will generate more film revenue. Last year we had, we didn't get film revenue from it because of the COVID-19 situation. The year prior to that, we had some issues with two of the individuals who rented, who booked the site, and we unfortunately we wound up netting very little bit from those two projects that were out there. However, I think if we did have the same projects this year, we would have netted somewhere in the neighborhood of 200,000 or so just from those two projects. We understand that there's a lot of interest in utilizing Gaithers for filming. So that's why there's money being spent on it, because we do own the property, we do have to maintain it.
Are you aware of any any reenactments?
I'm sorry?
Are you aware of any reenactments of that property? You know when the rebel flag running around on the property. Are we still having those out there? Civil War reenactments.
Oh, not that I'm aware of. I don't think we've had any.
No, sir.
There's not been any out there that I know of.
So I guess do we have a policy in place, hopefully to prevent that, or at least bring it before the board for the Republicans that voted in? Do we have any policies in place?
No, I don't. I think that that this was part of a discussion at last meeting, or maybe the meeting before, where I think that discussion, we would not be able to prohibit someone from doing a reenactment if they leased the space from us and they wanted to do a reenactment. I don't believe that we could prohibit them from doing that.
Well, only problem that I have with it, the fact that it is being funded by government, the peoples of Newton County, the citizens, all of us, and we can support something like Gaithers Plantation with the reenactments or whatever they want to do out there. But when it came down to a little Juneteenth day, $1,500, all of a sudden, all hell break loose, and the Republicans on this board chose not to rescind their vote. Are we aware of the history of plantations everywhere, of what happened on them? What they did to people of color, how they was beaten, how the women was raped and hung on property? Or should we be in that business? I guess that's the question. I've been wanting to ask, and I'm asking. Should we be in the plantation business? Now, I'm not against nobody who owns a plantation, but should our public funding, our tax dollar, mine and yours and theirs, should it be used on a plantation? Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we know when we actually purchased that particular location?
That was a part of the purchase for the Bear Creek Reservoir, 1996 or 97. That was part of all of the land that accompanied all of the land that was part of, or not quite all of it, but a good portion of the land that was identified for the Bear Creek Reservoir. Now, we did purchase other properties as well, but that was back in 1997.
Okay, so it was a unanimous vote for everybody on the board at that time?
I don't know.
Guys, listen, we're not finna do this, I'm telling you. This is my last time, we going home. I'm telling you, listen, this is the last time. Talk to the chairman. If you wanna talk to the chairman, talk to the chairman.
So I'm posing a question, Mr. Chair. So if we know that it was purchased back then, did that board know, or did they decide not to purchase it, or did they decide to purchase it? Because it would have been up to that board at that time to say, we don't want to purchase this particular property for X, Y, and Z. But if that board chose to purchase that property at that time, we can't go back and unpurchase it. The only thing we can do is sell it, if that's what we choose to do currently. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Kerr, can you explain the reason why that property was purchased again?
Yes, sir.
Please.
My understanding is that that was part of the property that was identified for the Bear Creek Reservoir. Bear Creek does flow through that property, and that when the decision was made to identified that as a good place for a reservoir, that property was purchased. A good bit of that property would be in the pool. And the other, and the reason why the remainder of the property was purchased, as well as additional property was purchased, was in order to protect the pool. So there's quite a bit of land that was eventually purchased. The property also is considered an historic site because of the age of the building and all there. Again, my understanding was that the original idea was to create what was referred to as a pioneer village, which would include the church that was moved there. There's a log cabin that was moved from Gun Creek Trail. A family donated that. There are several other outbuildings, some houses, original houses, and a blacksmith shop, and I think there's some other stuff out there. And it was for a period of time used for school trips and used as a demonstration area to show people. There were several festivals and things out there. And people volunteered to show people how to do blacksmith. There were gardens there. There were flower gardens and butterfly gardens, and there was crop gardens or vegetable gardens, I guess you might say. There were also other festivals that occurred out there. There was a Mule Days and some other stuff that happened out there, but the county, as I understand it, wanted to use it as an educational center, and also because, and also to preserve it because it was an historic site. It's a beautiful site, and eventually, the thought was that the reservoir would also be there. So
Thanks, sir.
that's what I know.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Henderson.
I'm gonna say this, and you know, I know what's so disrespected back when I came on the board. And I came with the gators, and they were having reenactments, and they were looking at little slave quarters. You know, what I'm saying, it's where we used to keep them at, or where the children or where they grew up at. And I was more disrespected when I found out that we were funding it. And you know, people can do what they want to do with their individual money, but I do not believe that taxpayers' dollars here in Newton County should be spent on a plantation where they can do reenactment. That's what you should be worried more about than about that little the $1,500 that you denied. You should be worrying about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Brittany, you have anything else?
That's it for the financial presentation. I do have budget transfers.
Okay.
There.
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. In your packet, you have 5 budget transfers, and they're all numbered. So I'll begin with number 1. Budget transfer number 1 is for the contingency positions that are on our contingency list. So the contingency position list behind budget transfer number 1 is the breakdown of the actual budget transfer. So this is moving all of the positions in green that are labeled 518 presented to the board. This budget transfer is to move the money from our contingency for new positions to the department. So those positions include facilities maintenance tech, a kitchen custodian aide for senior services, a receptionist for senior services, 5 equipment operators for public works, 2 animal control officers, a deputy clerk for the clerk of court, an assistant training coordinator for the sheriff's office, a DA investigator for the district attorney, and 16 firefighter EMT recruits. And that's all the ones from 518. The previous, there have been previous ones from the 12-1 and the 117 meeting. So this is just taking it from the contingency line and adding it to the department where we filled the positions. Are there any questions on this one?
Let me get a motion. I seek a motion, guys. Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Thank you. Pass 5-0. Thank you so much, Brittany.
Okay, I got a few more.
Got one more?
Well, I have 5 total. That was only
Okay.
one. Number 2 is a budget amendment that will actually be for another item on the agenda tonight, I believe. But this is for a purchase of 2 tractors for public works. So they have savings in their budget currently this year that they're wanting to utilize to purchase these tractors. And these tractors, so we're moving the money to capital. So since the money was not originally budgeted in capital, this has to come to the board for approval. Are there any questions on this?
Thank you. I seek a motion, please. Give me a motion.
Do a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to approve budget transfers.
Any second? Can I get a second? Who's that? It's a motion by Commissioner Cowell and a second by Commissioner Sanders. Discussion.
Brittany, the tractors they're buying, are those the ones that you got listed as the John Deere's coming up on the?
Yes.
Okay. Did we get local bids on that? I mean, I don't know if Hayes Tractors.
We do. We try to get local bids, and then we will go outside of our area. But
Did they submit a
I
bid?
think as a matter of fact, I'm thinking, Tony, do you know if these are coming from Hayes Tractor? I'm not sure. I know that we just purchased some equipment from Hayes
Okay.
recently, but yeah, we always go local first to try to get everything. Oh, okay, Ag Pro. Ag Pro is who we're getting them from. They're Conyers, I believe is where their office is.
Well, again, I just want to reiterate, if we can buy local, I prefer to buy local.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a John Deere dealer in Newton County, but Kubota's a pretty good tractor too, so.
Right. Yeah, we try to get we don't necessarily go with the low bid. We go with the best bid. It depends on what type of tractor we're using, but we do try to get, particularly with any vehicles of any kind, whether it's tractor or truck or car, we always try to get to buy local if at all possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Commissioner Edwards? Thank you. Passes 5-0. Brittany?
Budget amendment number 3 in your packet is to disperse the recreation's appropriation money out to their department. So when we passed the budget at the beginning of FY21, the recreation was still a commission, and then it was voted after the budget to move them from the commission to a department. So what we're doing here is we're taking the 1.9 million that we appropriated them and dispersing it out, which, for their department. We're also requesting to the Recreation Commission come over with roughly $316,000 in fund balance. So requesting to transfer that 316 out of, out to the capital improvement fund, so that money can be utilized in years after FY20. Yes.
I think we missed bonfire, unless I've just completely tuned out the one before it, the $5,000 for renewal for bonfire. Is that one of these or no?
No, mine are just the item, I think, 11.
Okay.
So we haven't made it that far.
Okay,
yet.
sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
So guys, we are on item number 15.
Well, we're still on item 11, I think.
No.
I had just mentioned about the John Deere tractors because I knew that they were gonna, that might have been the confusion. Because I knew that it was coming up in the agenda, so that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause the confusion. Okay, so we are requesting to transfer $316,000 to the capital improvement fund for future capital projects for the recreation, and we're choosing to transfer it out to the capital improvement fund so we have access to it in years after FY21. Any questions about this one?
Seek a motion, Commissioner Henderson. Yeah, give me a motion first, please.
I make a motion to approve the transfers of the $316,000 to the capital improvement fund from recreation.
Can I get a second? All right, discussion. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. C. What, I mean, and just for my information purposes, why couldn't the 316,000 be added to the recreation budget? And so that there would be 316,000 less than the it will come from the county funding.
Essentially, the Recreation Commission doesn't need that $316,000 this year because I guess with COVID, they haven't had as much going on. And so their budget currently for the FY21 doesn't need the 316. So that's why with discussions on them, we had discussed moving it to capital improvement so they can utilize it.
And just one last thing from my observation. You know, I kind of go around the park, especially ones in District 4, and most of all of them, if you go to Trailblazer Park, is run down, and you go to a few others. Why can't we use some of that 316,000 to go out and put new playground equipment at some of these parks that desperately need it, and it looked abandoned and raggedy, and you know, it would be, I would think that it would be an upkeep measure for at least the helping the parks look decent, just like most of the other ones around in the county.
Mr. Kerr?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to address what Commissioner Henderson was asking about some of the parks. That money, I've actually had several discussions with Dwayne Mask about utilizing that money to do repairs and things. So they have a number of projects that they want to use, that they've already identified using that money for in terms of repairs. And if we put it in the capital improvements budget, then if they don't or aren't able to spend that this year, then we can carry it over to next year. If we put it in their budget, then if they don't spend it, then it's gone. They will not be able to carry that over. So that's why we put it in there. But they do already have some capital projects identified for that money.
Thank you. So could you see my list of those improvements?
Yes.
Commissioner Cowan?
Thank you. Just a quick question. My understanding was some of the money that Recreation was holding was from user fees for playing recreation ball things like that. Is any of this, that money, is that part of this money here? Is it all commingled together? or what?
They, I think there was some sports that had, I guess their open registration was going on during that. So there's accounting entries when their accounting books come over at the FY20 year end. They had money on their books for accounts receivable. So those were receipted in FY21 once they were under the county. And that's part of this budget amendment also encompasses some revenues that they've brought in, and that's part of that revenue.
Okay, so putting it in the capital improvement fund or capital fund, they'll have access to that and they can, I mean, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is the monies that are set aside for, the parents pay for money for their kids to play ball. Have you met with Dwayne and folks like, and those people over there about any of that to be utilized to enhance those programs or not?
We've not specifically talked about that, but I'll definitely will talk with him. But I know that they use those, they do routinely use the money to run the programs, and you know it's used to offset the cost of the program. So
Well, they have umpires they have to pay. They have to buy.
there's maintenance on the field.
Maintenance on the field.
Yeah, there's
I just want to make sure that some of that money, if parents have donated that money for their kid to participate, that it gets put back into the right program.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of repairs and all that need to be done on those on the field houses and the concession stands and all of that. So yeah, I'll talk with him about.
And that's why we set up 2 departments for them.
Yeah.
We have one for participant fees.
Okay.
So that'll show you all the revenues and the
Okay,
expenditures
that
for the
makes-
participant fees.
That actually clears everything up.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, budget amendment number 4 is for animal services. So the reason this is coming to the board is because we are increasing a revenue number, so we are technically amending this budget. So animal control has taken in more adoptions this year. So in return, the more adoptions has caused them to have more medical fees. So this budget amendment is basically increasing the revenue for medical or for shelter fees and then increasing the expenditure for medical services. Any questions on this one?
Seek a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the increase of budget amendment for animal services.
Can I get a second? It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, my wife had called, and then I called later over to animal control, and what we asked for was some dogs over at Nelson Heights that, I don't know, they kept barking and going there. And so we asked for her, make a mistake and ask for a trap. And she told us, well, if you want a trap, so go on up, call the Rockdale or somewhere, and they'll bring you a trap out. So just for me, and I'm going to abstain, to support somebody that when you call, and she know me from anybody, Joe Blow, and ask for a little trap or some help with dogs, they tell you go to another county. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It passed 3-1. One is. Yeah.
Okay, the very last one, number 5, is just to realize a debt service payment that we make out of the debt service fund that was left off of the FY21 budget by mistake. So this is just correcting that. So come audit time, we don't get a note in our audit that we were over budget. So this is just increasing the revenue for this, and then it's increasing the expenditure. Any questions?
Seek a motion, please. Seek
I'll
a
make that
please.
motion to make that budget amendment transfer.
Thank you, sir. Can Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item number 12, GSI Department. Request approval of professional service agreement with Geographic Information Services. Mr. Tim Lawrence. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. Are we all? Yes, tonight, the GIS Department requests your approval of a professional services agreement with Geographic Information Services of Birmingham, Alabama. They're a consulting firm that we've been using here at Newton County for about 10 years, off and on, and we've retained them for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. Their help is needed for consulting assistance for our department to help us plan and implement the replacement of 6-year-old server machines. The life cycle of a GIS server or a server is about 5 to 7 years, and our current servers are just about 6 years old. GIS Inc. will also help install and deploy more advanced GIS software on these new servers, and it will help us to tune our databases before these new servers go live in mid to late 2022. Quick note, part of our hardware, or our FY22 requests are the hardware and software for these new servers, but this is consulting needed to assist in the planning and implementation over the course of 12 to 18 months. Sam von Volkenberg from Legal has reviewed this agreement with GIS Inc., and he has included a contract supplement, which I believe you guys have. This request is currently funded in our professional services account and a 50% cost share with the City of Covington. Its engineering department is also present.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Can I seek a motion, please? Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? All in favor? It passed 4-0. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, boy.
Next is item number 13. Public Works requests approval of VOC to purchase 2 John Deere tractor from Ag Pro. Mr. Curry, gonna be you?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we kind of gone through it already, but Tony Wright is here in case you have any additional questions about these tractors.
Well, our finance director did just go through these, so I hope y'all okay with that, without Tony coming up tonight. I seek a motion, please. Commissioner Cowan.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 John Deere tractors from Ag Pro, cost of $162,902.02.
Can I get a second, please? Guys, can I get a second, please? Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Thank you much. Next is Purchasing Department requesting approval of renewal of bonfire, cost $5,000. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bonfire is the platform that we use to receive and to accept bids from on our website, and the annual cost for this services that they provide is $5,000, and so we're asking to renew that $5,000.
Thank you, sir. I seek a motion, please. Thank you, sir. Can I get a second? Thank you, ma'am. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Parks and Recreation that requesting approval of fees. Mr. Kerr?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have not officially adopted the or the board has not officially adopted the fees that are charged by the recreation department for all of their rentals and uses. And Dwayne Mask is here tonight to go over their fee schedule with you or answer any questions that you might have about those fees. And so Dwayne, if you'll come up, then we can go, he'll go through them with you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. So yeah, we've listed pretty much everything that we charge fees for here. If y'all got any questions, I will answer. Got them from program fees that we do charge our participants to rental for pavilions and gym usage and banquet room rentals. So,
Thank you, sir.
I mean,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
thank you. Look at, Dwayne, you know, I've, over the past few years, I've always brought this up about allowing every child in Newton County to play rec ball free. And just, I guess I'm kind of just laying this out to the commission and the board, is why can't we do that? Think of how many kids would be off the streets. Think of how many kids' lives that we could change if we made recreation ball free for little girls and little boys here in Newton County. And it's my understanding, and maybe Lord probably know a little bit about this because he's been on the board for a while, that it might would take only one meal to do that for our kids. And then if you took it a step further, you could take the recreation and set it off on its own. Because the way that I'm seeing it going now is becoming more political than anything. And I just want my grandson to go out there and play and have fun. You know, I don't want to worry about, say, well, maybe the commission might want the fees to go up today, and then the next week or two or next year, they go down. And children and parents shouldn't have to worry. And I'm hearing and seeing that a lot of them are being worried. I think we should consider that. About like a no-kill dog shelter. You know, it seems like the interest may have moved over a little bit further, but it's something I think we should do for the children here in Newton County. Thank you, Mr. C.
Thank you. Let's see, Commissioner Cowan. Commissioner Cowan. Okay. Y'all see? I can't make this up. Wow. Wow. Commissioner, can you get your mic on for me, please?
Cut.
Thank you.
The one, did you hear what I asked you?
I did.
A scholarship program for, that you can put money aside into for children that want to, parents may not be able to afford for them to pay. Is there anything like that right now?
We do not have anything like that at the moment. We do with last 2 years, last 2 years we've actually put in for Atlanta Hawks grant for $2,500 that we've received, and we use that for basketball. So that helps give some scholarships for basketball. We don't have anything at the moment in place for baseball and football.
Do you think that might be something worthwhile to look into?
I definitely think it would be.
Okay.
Because I do know we do have some.
Because I've always
kids
done
in-
that at our church. We do this basketball league there, and we pay for participants in advance. We don't know who they are,
Yeah.
but if their parents can't pay for it, we want people to play so that they can come and basically play free. Somebody's already paid it for them. So I would ask you to at least consider that at some point. That was just my question. So thank you.
Thank you. I seek a motion, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Senior Service has requested approval of Georgia Food Contract for FY 2021 and 2022. Mr. Kerr.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This contract is for the meals that we do, partially for the meals that we serve at the senior center, but also for the meals that are delivered to the shut-ins and for the seniors who can't come to the senior center. And this is funded through. We do have state, federal, and private funding. Some of this comes from the regional commission. We do get funding for this also from the Senior Services 501c3. And then there's also some other private funding sources that are added to that as well. But this is an annual contract that we do. I believe this is the one that we have had in place for about 18 years.
Thank you, sir. I seek a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The senior center is in District 4. I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion? All in favor? Thank you. It passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. This opportunity, we let citizens make comments about any topic. You may come at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. You have 3 minutes to do so. You may come at this time. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Thelma Starnali. I live at 3163 Stone Mountain Street. And I'm still talking about taxes. So I just want to know, how is it that we can elect people to be in seats and stuff? Y'all up in the night arguing about budget. That's all we talk about is the budget. But if everybody was to pay their taxes, we wouldn't have to argue about budget, because this county is rich with money. And it seems like the only somebody's paying it is the poor folks. And then nobody's being held accountable for the taxes or anything. And I'm still kind of upset because a person came to my neighborhood and built an empire and never paid any taxes. That's not fair to us or anybody else. And I understand that the last tax commissioner we had, y'all hired. So did they close the books out before they left? So how can you ever close the book out? How can you ever have a budget if nobody's paying, if some people are not paying the taxes? So how did they get to walk into a position in a high level and then close the books out? I need y'all to explain that to me. And I know that, we come, we talk, and it seems like y'all can't talk back to us. And it seems like the only time y'all want to hear us talk is when your seat is up. Then y'all want to put your name out there on the road to get elected. And I believe the commissioner from District 2, last time I was here, he was saying, like, call your commissioner. I live in District 4. I do talk to my commissioner, but I still feel like I have the right to come up and talk when I get ready to talk and not when somebody want me to talk. So until y'all start collecting some tax money, some back tax money, you can never close your books out. So that's why your budget ain't right, and it's never gonna be right until y'all make everybody pay their fair share of taxes and not just keep putting it on the backs of poor folks. Because after a while, we gonna get tired too. And I know y'all probably gonna raise our property tax up again. So I'm gonna tell you like this, until other folks start paying taxes, I might need to start paying mine too. And see if you put my piece of property up on the auction block. So I'm just saying, you won't have to argue anymore if you make people pay your taxes, because your system or budget out right. But right now, we ain't got no budget in place. We don't have anything in place. We just always arguing about money, money, money. So if everybody gonna do right, let's start off with everybody paying your taxes, and then your books will balance out, and they can close them out right, not just sitting up here pretending. So if we're gonna argue about something, let's argue about some taxes and do right by the citizens that put y'all in these seats. Thank y'all, and thank y'all for listening. Y'all have a blessed night.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Denise Williams, 165 Long Creek Drive. Tonight you said that it was going to be open to the public for each one of the commissioners to state why they rescinded their vote. I heard Ronnie Cowan, but I didn't hear the other two commissioners say why they rescinded their vote for the Juneteenth event. So will you address that, please, Chairman?
Anyone else?
Good evening, Archie Shepherd, 9169 Village Drive, Covington, Georgia. I'm here tonight to ask the commissioners. I don't know how y'all do it or whatnot. J.C. Henderson been on this board for 20-some years, I think. When J.C. Henderson first came on this board, all the other people said that you give J.C. Henderson a ball field, that's all he wanted. Still today, recreation is where it is today on account of J.C. Henderson always tried to get parks and things. People that, I don't know, people that have came and left, and they named parks and everything about them. But J.C., I would ask the commissioner to consider naming Nelson Heights Community Center, J.C. Henderson Community Center. The reason I'm saying that, it's a road out there, Lester Road out there, but that's the city. And if you go asking the city, you're going to have to go to ask the city to name that road because that don't belong to the county. The center belong to the county. So it'd be easy for the county to name. We had an incident one time back in the future when we was trying to get Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. They offered to give us Stalling Street over there where the jailhouse is. We asked for West Street. They said they couldn't give it West Street because you had to change name, too many names. We asked for Washington Street, the same thing. So the city would be more harder to get something named than it would the county to name this center after J.C. I think after all of these years that he have served this community and all the stuff that he have did, other people have came and gone, and they got names after them. Some of the commissioners have come and gone and made millionaires, and J.C.'s same condition he in now is when he first come on board. So if y'all would really consider this, I would appreciate it, and I think the citizen that he represent would really appreciate it. So, it ain't no big thing y'all could do that. Y'all name other buildings and things after people. So I really would like for y'all to name that center after J.C. Henderson. Thank you.
Thank you
so
sir.
much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Nikki Church, 105 Ascot Trace. I was here last month because of the situation in the Hanley Mill subdivision with the illegal use of ATVs and the go-karts and the mopeds. We have a big problem with that, with them riding them in the subdivision on the streets. We have 3 signs there, but the signs are very ambiguous. They're not very clear in terms of stating, they don't mention ATVs specifically. They don't mention mopeds. They don't mention go-karts. I spoke to trying to think of the gentleman's name, the manager, who's on the line, who's on the phone.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes,
Yeah.
I spoke to Stan Edwards. He's been very good about receiving my text. We actually sent him some video footage of last month of a particular property where we've had repeated issues with them with the ATVs and the go-karts. 3 hours they ride the vehicles in the front yard of the property, and they have the motors raced or whatever to make the sounds just absolutely unbearable. 3 straight hours they do that. They've done it several times, and then as soon as it starts to get a little bit dark, then they ride them on the streets. The problem with the police is if they can't catch them in action, they can't do nothing. This particular house, this particular family, they have some kind of connections with the police because as soon as the police get called, they are tipped off some kind of way. They stop. It's a no-win situation. The noise ordinance is being violated, not to mention the illegal use of the ATVs on the streets. This is my 2nd time here. We have to do something because we can't get the police there to catch them in action. So I'm hoping that the Board of Commissioners can do something to enforce by contacting. I have the address. I've sent several texts again to Mr. Edwards about this. We have to do something because it's all times of the day and nights. On Sunday, this past Sunday, they were out there again with the ATVs with children riding on them, and then adults as well with children riding on them. The ATVs and the go-kart, this is the same house that does this. That's one issue. The other issue is that they allow the ATVs to be used on the property legally, but in a subdivision where the houses are not an acre apart, they're very close in proximity. The noise level is in violation of the noise ordinance. So I don't know when the laws were implemented. It is in a rural area. It's outside of the city limits. So maybe when the laws were implemented, it was a lot of farmland at that time. The laws need to be taken another look at. They are totally inappropriate for a subdivision for even to have the legal use of those vehicles in the subdivision property. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Susan Jackson, 110 Wisteria Boulevard. And my comment is concerning the rescinding of the vote for the Juneteenth. I watched that meeting online, and I saw where all 5 commissioners voted for that. I understand what Commissioner Cowan is saying regarding the policy. My question is, now that a policy is in place, will you reconsider what is the application process for this committee to go and have these funds approved? Commissioner Mason mentioned that he would contribute. Is that what you're saying? You're committing to contribute now? Now, and also I want to say now, it's my understanding that the rescinding of the votes was suggested. If you rescind the vote, then I will, private citizen said, if you rescind the vote, then I will donate. Please tell me, counselor, attorney, what is the legal ramifications of a private citizen saying to a commissioner, if you rescind your vote, then this is what I will do? I'm not sure. I don't have that experience. I'm asking a question. How legal is that? If I say, if you rescind a vote, then I will contribute there. So I think that we're in some really muddy waters concerning that. And this is my question. If that citizen was so concerned and so willing to donate, they should have done that proactively, okay? And they can still do that without getting something in return. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Please forgive me earlier for speaking to a citizen out of place. My apologies. But I did want to reiterate that back to Ms. Redding. I did send an email to Ms. Vera Dixon, and so I have not received a reply back to her as of yet. Oh, you can hear me? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. And so whenever she replies back to me, I don't have her information. If you want to provide me with her contact details, I'll be more than happy to actually reach out to her. I only received an email from her, so that's the only notification that I have. So I'll be more than happy to actually follow up with, oh, is this Ms. Dixon?
Ma'am. Ma'am. No, ma'am, it's not. Yeah, it's not. I'm sorry.
But we can talk after.
Yeah, you can talk afterwards.
We can talk
but
after
I
the meeting.
apologize. No, ma'am,
Yes.
it's not.
Yes.
No, he's not, but he'll address you after the board meeting is over with. Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome. So yes, I wanted to make sure that I did follow through with what I suggested. I do think it is an excellent thing for us to support. And so in Oklahoma, which is where I'm from, we basically had a Juneteenth festival every single year. And so it's definitely something I want to support. And there are individuals that I know that aren't aware or weren't aware that the event was going on for the past 9 years. I believe that was stated in the email. And so I want to help bring awareness to those individuals as well that did not know that as well. So I am still wanting to support that. Let's just follow up with that as well. So that was all I had, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
First, I want to apologize to the citizens in regards to our outburst and our county attorney who was trying to provide some information. When you're speaking on a topic that's just as touchy as Juneteenth and speaking on heritage, it can get to a point where you stand your ground. And that's what we did. We stood our ground. So I do apologize to those if it was an outburst that was not comfortable to you, but sometimes you have to stand your ground on issues, because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I've been on this board and I'm thinking, we didn't want to last this long on this board, to tell you the truth. In fact, sometimes I ask myself the question, why am I coming? But I managed to outlast a lot of folks on here, the ones who told lies on me, called me a thief, and then, you know, when the information came in, they held on to the information more than 2 years, the fact that I did nothing wrong. Then everybody got information about me but me, and I'm still waiting on information that the FBI's was supposed to send back to me. I never got them, and I'm looking for it. But I'm gonna end just by this. If a man or woman has to be a person of their word, in other words, you know, it used to be back when I first came on the board, you could shake a hand and, hey, it was good as gold. But I'm finding with, I'm gonna say the new generation, now that I am the old guy, I used to be the young guy, that people change and they lie, tell all kind of lies and information that you should be knowing how much to have a discussion on. We never do have discussions. And we need to change and stand for something and keep our word. Thank you.
Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate the two commissioners that stood their ground and their convictions and everything. I think it's well worth noting. From my viewpoint on the Juneteenth issue, honestly, I'm 63 years old. I'd never heard of it until about a year ago when it first came up. So I did my research, and I can understand the critical nature of that and why it's important. So my opinions on that are that it is a worthwhile celebration for America. Now, flip side of things, I'm an attorney, and the question comes up, have you done anything that may have put yourself in jeopardy with the Bar Association or with a judge or something like that? The question came up after our last meeting, whether or not we overstepped our bounds with the Georgia gratuities law, which is found in the Constitution. I read through that. I had some discussions with the county attorney about that, and it was my opinion that we probably overstepped our bounds. Not intending to, just negligently. So we're working on a process to get this corrected. Okay, I don't think anybody on this Board of Commissioners downplays the importance and the critical nature of that holiday and celebration. But we did that mostly just to, we've got to get in place the right procedures to make sure that as we move forward in the county that, because I'm probably not going to be here at the next term. I'm getting too old for this. So somebody's going to be here. They're going to need guidance. And my job, I think, at this point, and I think the whole Board of Commissioners' job, and I know Commissioner Mason has said this over and over, following the rules, following procedures, setting policies in place. I think Commissioner Sanders has also expressed the importance of that. Totally agree with all that. I think it's critical for government to have that. So, that being said, I don't want anybody to worry. We're working through the process. And we're just human, just like anybody else. Sometimes we make mistakes. And, but once we realize we've made a mistake, we've got to figure out the best way to rectify that. So this is where we are. I just ask everybody to please be patient with us. We will work through this situation. And to my two commissioners that stood their ground, I do appreciate both of y'all. So that's really all I got to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Seek a motion that we adjourn, please. Motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Sanders. All in favor? 4-0. Thank you.